Good evening. This is Dan Stafford, your host with Midwestern Geek and Cali podcast and videocast. And this evening, I want to talk about a few things. I'm going to start off with a discussion on pedal-powered or human-powered vehicle travel here in these United States. And as I'm fond of saying lately, may there never be a rogue wave in your coffee mug. However, with pedal-powered vehicles in this country, there is a rogue wave in the coffee mug, so to speak. And it's this. Most bicycle infrastructure in this country mixes bicycle traffic in with automobile traffic. For a lot of people, that makes them pretty unconfident in riding around on a bicycle. Despite miles and miles and miles of bike lanes, there's nothing but a line of paint between the bicycle rider and all the cars, which it's pretty obvious are way bigger, way heavier, and gonna win in any conflict. So, I have a solution to propose for this. And the amount of money it would cost to do this is so much less than putting in a ton of new infrastructure that it amazes me it hasn't ever been proposed before, at least not to my knowledge. And here's the thing. Most, not all, but most streets in this country, in any urban area of any size at all, and a lot of small towns as well, have sidewalks along both sides of the street. These sidewalks are very lightly used. I mean, really, people don't walk that much anymore, not like they used to. They do, however, walk, so we need to keep walking, sidewalks available for pedestrians. But here's the thing. There's two sides to the street, and most sidewalks are on both sides of the street. Now, what's to say you couldn't set it up so bicycles and skateboards and scooters and such couldn't be on, say, the south side of the street if the street is generally going north-south or generally traveling east and west. Put the bicycles and other wheeled traffic, human-powered wheeled traffic on, say, the south side, just, forgiven, and then put the pedestrians on the north side. And if the street runs north-south, put the bicycle traffic on the east side, or the pedal-powered or human-powered with wheels traffic on the east side, and put the foot traffic on the west side. You don't really need to add much for infrastructure to be able to do this. And it would separate all the human-powered transportation from the motorized transportation. Use existing bike lanes for like scooters or motorized e-bikes or, something with a motor on it that's not really going to go like 45, 50, 60 miles an hour like most people drive in the actual car lanes, but is going to be a little too fast for sidewalk based bicycle traffic. Put the pedals where, and say if it's a low powered e-bike where it's just a little bit of electric assist to get up and down the hills, not able to do more than 20 miles an hour. Okay, fine. Let them go on the sidewalk. That's going to be designated for pedal powered or wheeled human powered wheeled traffic. Let's call it. human-powered wheeled vehicles, and then human-powered foot vehicles. In other words, people on the other side of the street. And then, if you're on wheels, you got to walk it on the crosswalks. So because there are going to be parts where people walking need to get over to, like, enter an apartment complex, for instance, or got into the pedestrian access to malls and such like. So areas like that would need a little bit. So your biggest expenditure really would be signage in an infrastructure situation like that. It would dramatically improve the infrastructure situation for wheeled human-powered vehicles in this country. And it'd be an easy way to improve the access to exercise for people that live close enough to use such transportation to get to work and school or whatever they may be doing, go shopping, whatever. It really would make human-powered transportation much more accessible throughout the country if we had like a national standard for how to do this. And maybe you can study and see, like what time of year and what side of the street it should be based on temperature. Because, if you're pedaling a bicycle, you may be warmer or cooler than somebody walking. I'm not really expert enough to say which side of the street it would be, but you could split the streets up that way, the sidewalk usage up that way, still have plenty of access for pedestrians, and yet instant access to infrastructure for human-powered wheeled vehicles, skateboards, bicycles, rollerblades, whatever, what have you. And then the streets that are missing sidewalks, that would be important connector streets, you'd just put in sidewalks on those streets. That's where you would put the infrastructure spending, that and basically signage. And there you go. It'd be a huge improvement to infrastructure access for human-powered wheeled vehicles, and not really that much impact on foot traffic either. So consider it, think about it, kind of visualize how it would work in your mind and go over it. But I think this is one way that we could definitely make it a lot easier on people trying to get around on wheels without motors, or without gasoline motors, so to speak. Okay, so next up, I need glasses for this one. All right, UC Chemist's solar-powered device generates electricity through ion transport. That's not the important part of this story. It's interesting, but solar electricity has been done. The materials to make this device are extremely cheap. Key point here. But what is interesting about this story is that it becomes a dirt cheap way of ionizing seawater and removing salt from seawater, thereby making fresh water. It's basically polyethylene plastic, some light absorbing dye, and water. The article will be linked on the show. This is going to be episode 53, www.midwesterngeekandcali.com. You can read the article yourself. It's not that long, but this could be really cool and really save a lot of people's bacon as climate change increases. Keeping access to fresh water is going to become more and more critical, and this could be a big one. And this is coming out of University of California, Irvine, this story. So I'm really thinking this is fascinating and something to watch going forward. Next up, we have a story on Cybersecurity Defender asking, how serious is the security risk of the newly discovered e-fail encryption threat? Apparently, there is a problem with email encryption. They're talking about vulnerable email clients being Mozilla Thunderbird, iOS Mail, and Apple Mail at the top of the list, which is kind of sad because Mozilla Thunderbird is an open source program, and I happen to think a very good one otherwise. I'm hoping Mozilla gets off their duff and fixes this issue as fast as possible. I don't know the details of how the decryption encryption scheme has been broken, but I also have to wonder how big of a deal are email clients, and they're not so big of a deal in the desktop world anymore. And that means Mozilla Thunderbird is probably less of a threat because I think less and less people are doing email via desktop applications, and Mozilla is a desktop app. The Thunderbird is. However, iOS Mail and Apple Mail, now you're talking iPads and iPhones. That is a damn big deal right there. Because there's a big section of the mobile market using Apple. So let's see here. I'm trying to find out if they're given any kind of a workaround, and not really. Nope. No, it doesn't look like there is. It looks like the best bet, they're saying that TLS, IPsec, and SSH are not affected. Now, those are not email encryption protocols. Those are overall web IP traffic encryption protocols. So here's the trick. I would say if you're running one of these vulnerable mail clients, get a VPN, which is a virtual private network tool, set up and use it. At least you would be encrypting your traffic between your PC and the VPN provider server with TLS, IPsec, or SSH protocols, which are not vulnerable to this. So if you need encrypted email, probably it wouldn't be a bad idea to use VPN on both ends, but you're entirely dependent on the recipient or sender of a given email message being capable of setting up a VPN service, which it's not that hard anymore. I mean, Avast makes Secure Line VPN, and it's like $36 a year per device. So not that expensive. And that actually is a great idea because it encrypts all your web traffic going to and from your machine to a server at Avast, and bypasses quite a bit of potential snooping along the way. It's not going to encrypt everything all the way through, but it will get a good chunk of the transport encrypted with protocols that are not vulnerable to this issue. So it can't hurt. That's what I'm saying. And at $36 a year, that's really pretty reasonable. So I'd say it's worth it. So on that note, obviously there will be notes at www.midwesterngeekandcali.com, episode 53 in the show notes. And then The last thing I'm going to talk about tonight, because it's kind of late, is I want to talk about a California icon. And this is a fellow named Huell Howser, Huellhowser. Guy's been dead for 10 years, but he was a show host on California Public Broadcast Service, PBS. I think the station he was based with was KCET out of Los Angeles. And he did a couple of different shows there. They were mostly human interest pieces and places to go and see and do here in California. And the show in particular that I'm talking about is one called California's Gold. Yeah, that's the way Huell would have said it, only a lot louder, a lot bigger, and a lot better. Huell was a larger-than-life guy, very upbeat. The show is uplifting, and it's an odd mix of, I don't know how to describe it. It's got a magic to it. It's got a certain magic to it, a nostalgia, a romanticism, and like a little undertone of clumsiness that's just kind of, it all works together in a really cool way. And he explores some of the coolest stuff, like this old train ferry, like a ferry boat for trains that used to run here in California. It was, and probably still holds the record as, the largest train ferry in the world. Not car ferry, train ferry. And the show was incredible. That's one of the episodes. There's an episode on remembering past icons from Los Angeles that are just amazing. It talks about the old electric trains that we used to have all over the place out here in California, that they ripped up the tracks and now they got to put them all back. Thank you. Here's the gas tax, and that's where the gas tax is supposed to go. Is putting back what we used to have in California, sadly enough. But, you know, the way he does it, it's just amazing. There are so many cool episodes of this show, California's Gold. It's all older than 10 years old. So most of these you can find online, the video, and just stream them. And they're like little half-hour shows. There's hardly any commercials because it's PBS. And it's not, you know, like when they're doing their fundraising drive. It's just straight up show. I'm telling you, go check it out. Huell Howser, California's Gold. And then there's a couple of other shows. I think at least one other show that Huell did. But California's Gold is really the one to check out first. I mean, if you like Huell and the stuff he does, he has some really cool stuff on his other show. There was like this olive factory that was up north of here, and just 100 little interesting places at least. Sarah and I have been watching this guy now for about a year, and there's a more modern show called Inland Empire Explorer, or IE Explorer, with a younger fella named Joel Green. He's good too, but it's just not the same as Huell. I mean, there's something there. I mean, he did this sailing ship that they were building. I think it was down by San Diego, that they were actually building a full-on sailing ship. Now, it's been built and launched by now because, you know, he died 10 years ago. So these shows are like late 1990s into early 2000s. But they're just fantastic little pieces of California history that you would have no clue about, especially someone like me who came here from the Midwest. You know, I don't know all the little inside stories about California. I don't know the California backstory like someone who was born and raised here would. And as much as I love being out here, the weather's beautiful. The landscape and the terrain is so different than what I'm used to in the Midwest. There's a lot more water in the Midwest, obviously, and we have full-on seasons. There's a lot of things about the Midwest that I miss, and especially certain people. But I absolutely adore California. This part of California that we're living in particular, it just has a pacing that it's really cool. It's really, really a cool place that we kind of stumbled into here. But speaking of stumbling into it, we stumbled into Huell Hauser's shows. We caught the other one first, not California's Gold. But I'm telling you, check out California's Gold because it is cool. It's really cool. And there are just so many things that he does that are just awesome. That's all I got to say on that one. Go check it out. Now, I'm kind of stoked. Deadpool 2 is coming out this Friday. Yeah, I'm wearing the wrong t-shirt because I got my own personal Deadpool t-shirt that I made. And I'm going to be wearing it when I get to go to that movie, let's just say. But I am really looking forward to it. Sarah and I both loved the first Deadpool movie, and she's not usually a comic book fan, but this one had such good humor in it. And Ryan Reynolds knocking it out of the park with Deadpool. That's what I'm thinking. Now, at least the first movie. So I hope the second movie holds up that tradition because I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm going to get my butt out there to see it one way or another, and maybe not this first weekend, but as soon as I can, because that was such a cool first movie. I got to see the second one. And on that note, I'm going to call it a night. I'm pretty tired, and I need to go back and learn IP variable length subnetting. I'm trying to get that stuff down cold, and it's kind of a little on the basic subnetting is not too tough, but the variable length subnetting is it's like you really need to learn a bunch of math patterns. It's like learning how to test T1s all over again and count up T1s, except for it's like about 3 times as complex. So I'm looking forward to that. Because once I have that down, that is going to make a lot of future IT classes much easier to deal with. So, on that note, happy Vulcan fingers to you from the Agent of 42. And if you go out and check out the Deadpool movie, pop back on our Facebook discussion group. Hit me up with a comment on YouTube and let me know how you liked it. No spoilers, please. Don't do that to my other subscribers, and don't do that to me because I might not be able to see it right away. Budget's a little these days. But thank you for listening. Again, you can find us at www.midwesterngeekandcali.com, at MidwestGeek-Cali on Twitter, Facebook, Midwestern Geek and Cali, Midwestern Geek and Cali group, and we'll see you around on the web, and I'll see you on the next episode. Night, y'all.